The whole record industry thinking is about these two markets. You know, there's a white market and there's a black market. So with a band like National Wake, it sometimes becomes to them, well, which market? Or maybe both markets. And I think as soon as people start thinking in that way, we don't happen.
There was a sense of rebellion. I mean, in South Africa, it became more and more pointed to the regime we were living under. We were pariahs, we were isolated from the rest of the world. And for me, music had always been a vehicle for expressing one's rebellion. To see school children actually standing up and saying, we're not going to take it anymore, we're not going to be part of this system. It made me feel like, look what these kids are doing, what are you doing? What are you going to do about the situation? The band, in the form there was, we were all together and living together, spanned a period of 3 years. At the core was this incredible rhythm section, which was the Khoza brothers, Gary and Punka.
Punka and Gary would say that they only came to respect African music through us, that they'd always rejected it, and they were into funk and jazz.
I'd sort of been hip to protest music, and Pete Seeger was an idol, but the style that evolved, I mean, we were very transgenre.
The mix of rhythms and the mix of the stories.
You know, it's National Wake punk, but I mean, when you look at punk itself, from, you know, Sex Pistols to Clash, there's a wide range of styles and genres. The main thing that really communicated to me, there was the sound, but for me it had a lot more to do with the attitude.
There were very few places that blacks and whites could be equal, and both on stage and in the house, it was a celebration of that equality.
We just thought we're going to ignore all this history and we're just going to live our lives now in a post-apartheid world. And that's what we set out to do. International News is a song I wrote. I mean, I started off just with that driving rhythm. The first lyrics that came to my mind were, they put a blanket over Soweto. They put a blanket, nowhere to go now. I think I was thinking back to when there was any unrest in the township, there would be a news blackout and people were not allowed to report what was going on.
I was a filmmaker. I worked for the BBC and British Channel 4 Productions in South Africa documenting apartheid, and at that time it was illegal to point a camera.
Going to the movies, what do I see? Going to the movies,
We were constantly assaulted in our war zone. There were cops that would wait at the outskirts of the house and arrest guys before a gig.
The situation was very volatile, and I wanted a record in the truest sense of the word. You know, it turned out to be an album and a vinyl, but I wanted a record of this music. I'm not exactly sure how it got onto John Peel's show, but he played International News, and suddenly out of the blue I received a royalty check for £70 sterling. That's the biggest money I ever saw. When the album came out, things went into a different level completely. They did a limited pressing to start with. We did a showcase at the Chelsea, and that was a segregated venue. Once you started making it, you became so much more part of the system. We fell apart at the Chelsea, and that was a part of it, to accept a gig where we'd accept that our audience would be segregated. It was selling out. At our moment of sort of making it, we broke it. I always knew the music was really meaningful. I knew my experience was really meaningful. Whether it was any consequence to anyone else is a separate matter, but it seems people are interested in it now.